Okay? I'm recording this so that the morning classes can hear this because I'm going to be gone again tomorrow. So, what I would spend time doing today, and we'll have time to work on it in class tomorrow, and I'm going to be here with you guys both days so you can ask for a lot of direction from me. The morning kids, hopefully they can watch this video and learn from what we're talking about. What I would start with is on the back side of your sheet, I would pull out all of your assignments on the white sheets that you have written and write down all of the connections that you've made with Julius Caesar and Lord of the Flies. That will remind you because you might forget some, that you have down on the sheets. So just use those white sheets to kind of jog your memory. This is kind of your brainstorming side of your document, and you can write down all of the connections that you've made with Julius Caesar and Lord of the Flies. Okay, and I would write it all down, see what you've got. Okay, the other thing you can do is you can write about real world connections today. That could be your third main point. You could write personal connections for this third main point. You could do real world connections, what's going on in the news, how it connects to yourself, how it connects to books or movies or other things that you've read. That's how you can set up the connections with three main points if you want to, okay? A lot of you guys might have real world connections here, okay? So that's what I'm thinking most of you are gonna do. You're gonna have a Julius Caesar main point. I feel like 4 Mile is similar to Julius Caesar in several different ways. One of them being there is a character in my book who is just angry all the time and lashes out at others, period. And then you could go on and say, is it Dax that's that way? And you can say how Dax is like Cassius in that. So Dax is like da 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 da. So you're in each, so you're gonna fill this back side out first. And then the front side, you're gonna fill this in with your three main points. And for each main point, you have to have 3 examples that are comparing, and you can contrast too with whatever claim you're making in that paragraph. So here's different ways that you could do this, okay? If you have clear connections in Julius Caesar and Lord of the Flies and can make real world connections, you can do it that way. But there's alternatives for you. How many of you guys in your book have a lot of, say, Lord of the Flies connections, but not a lot of Julius Caesar? Are there some of you like that? Are some of you that have Julius Caesar connections, but not Lord of the Flies? Okay, so do most of you have connections to both somehow? Perhaps. Okay, you're gonna have to dig deep, okay? And for those of you who know Lord of the Flies well, and know Julius Caesar well, this is gonna be easier for you, okay? So, if you are Maggie, and you have a lot of Lord of the Flies connections, correct? Is that what you said? Maggie could compare and contrast in her whole 5-paragraph essay. It can all be about Lord of the Flies. So she wants to talk about the characters, similarities and differences, the settings, similarities and differences, and then the conflicts, similarities and differences, or themes. You could do themes. And if you want to just choose one work that we have studied and just stick with that, you can do that. You don't have to do both Julius Caesar and Lord of the Flies. Okay? You need to just think about how you're going to organize it. Okay? And it should be easy for you to write down your main point. The more you write on this side, the better off you're going to be. I feel like my book is similar to the characters in Lord of the Flies. My book has many characters who are similar to the little boys in Lord of the Flies. The first character who's similar is Eli, who is tall and the tallest one of all the boys and has natural leadership skills, just like Jack. I'm sorry, Ralph. Okay, so you want to make sure that you can make a claim at the top, and then you have 3 ways to support that claim all the way through. Okay, questions? Yes.
Is there a certain type of person or type of style you want?
It's persuasive, yeah. Every essay like this is persuasive in that you are persuading your readers that your book is similar to Julius Caesar in that. So yes, it is a persuasive paper is what you're doing. If you were just informing about one book, if you're just writing about one book, it'd be more informative, but you're persuading your audience how your book is similar and or different to the other ones. Yep.
Can I do the monkey's paw instead of Julius Caesar?
Good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Totally. Because some of you guys wrote about the monkey's paw. I saw early autumn on a bunch of your papers. Yes, I forget that when we started this whole thing, I said you could reference any piece of literature that we have studied this year. And even if you even wanted to reference something that you've studied in other classes, like your freshman year or the Outsiders or something like that, that's totally fine too. So yes, you can do other pieces of literature. I'm glad you asked that because I forgot that I told you guys that at the very beginning. I saw Contents of the Dead Man's Pocket. I saw Neighbor Rosicky, right? And you could compare and contrast. My book has similarities to several of the short stories that we have studied this year in sophomore English. And then you could go through and do it that way. Yeah, great. Yep. Other thing, here's some things that you could compare and contrast with if you want to choose one thing. You could do characters. You could do setting. You could do characters and their motivations, why they do what they do. Here's the other short story that I saw was The Street of the Canyon. Do you have a real mysterious person who kind of, you don't quite understand their motivation, right? Or do you have Lynn Cox? I saw Lynn Cox on some people's assignments. Do you have someone who's very determined? Remember the swimmer, Lynn Cox, who swam through the water? Or the Mount Everest guy? Okay, you've got that you can compare and contrast to. The Leap, the lady who was in the trapeze accident, she was blind. You can talk about any of the characters that we studied. Mr. Rosicky, I've seen Mr. Rosicky come up a lot on assignments that I've graded. So you can talk about the characters and their motivations. You could talk about their personalities. Obviously, you could talk about their looks, their age, but try to go beyond that. Setting would be pretty simple. Just the plot and the whole situation that the characters are in. If you've got a group of people who are stuck in a position where they have no leadership, that would be Lord of the Flies. If you have a book where you have one person who is a threat to everybody else or a seeming threat to everybody else, that would be Lord of the Flies. Can you guys stop? I'm trying to help everybody and you're distracting everybody else, okay? So you can think of this a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different ways to organize it. But what I would like you guys to do is write down what you can, and if you get stuck, visit with me about your book and I'll be able to give you some ideas, okay? And Alexis asked me, and here's plot, situation. Situation isn't one of our literary terms, but conflict would definitely be something that you could write about, okay? Plot, I'm not gonna write situation up there because that's not even an English word. Plot, rising action. In your conflict, you could write it's man versus man, it's man versus nature, it's man versus self. Same thing with characters, and if you guys need help with this, so you could get out your lit terms doc, you could write, are they static? They dynamic? When you're talking about, say, Ralph and your main character, you could say they're both round characters, you know, things like that. Try to work in that. We can talk about that later. But Alexis asked, how long does this have to be? Well, you're writing an introduction, you're writing a conclusion, and you're writing 3 main points, okay? And I don't tell you how many words it has to be. I don't tell you how many sentences each paragraph has to be, but you have to make a claim at the beginning of each paragraph, and you have to use the rest of that paragraph with at least 3 supporting elements, okay? So Ashlyn's looking at me like, what is make a claim, right? Make a claim is Jack in Lord of the Flies is similar to, give me a character from your book, Adam, in that he has don't use the word very, he has motives that differ from many other people who he is surrounded with, and he will do anything to get what he wants. And then you give examples from the book that show how he does that. All that making a claim is making a statement. Yeah?
So we need text evidence?
Text evidence, yes. That's why you can't take your books back to the library, okay? I can help you with text evidence in Julius Caesar and Lord of the Flies. I can help you find those page numbers, but keep your books. That's why I have you write your page numbers down on those little assignments. So we're gonna have to have, and I'm gonna keep it minimal, okay? You're gonna have to have 2 pieces of text evidence from your book, direct quotes from your book, doesn't have to be dialogue. Minimum of 2 from your book, and minimum of 2 from whatever literature you're comparing. Does that make sense? So if you're doing Julius Caesar, 1 paragraph, 1 main point, you have to have 1 Julius Caesar. If you're doing Lord of the Flies, the next one. Just, we'll talk more about those details when I give you your formal assignment sheet. But yes, text evidence is a must. The other thing that you're gonna learn in this is MLA formatting. Okay, have you heard of that? Do you know what that means? Okay, this is gonna be your introduction to MLA formatting. So I'm gonna show you how to do page 1 and the header that goes along with it and all that sort of stuff. We're gonna do that stuff in class, maybe even at the end of class tomorrow, depending on how much of your purple sheets you have filled out. If we don't do it at the end of class tomorrow, we will do it on Thursday, okay? Here's the thing. Today's Tuesday?
Yeah.
Wednesday, you'll be here. Thursday, you'll be here. Some people are gonna be gone next week, so I'm gonna be working with some people to get their rough draft pumped out yet this week. I don't expect most of you to get your rough draft pumped out, the whole thing this week, but I wanna get a good start on it, because I'm thinking of having the final draft be due next Wednesday, because Thursday will be a shortened period. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask them to do.
Yeah, it's gonna be due probably next Thursday, but we're gonna have a lot of class time. Honestly, you guys writing a 5-paragraph essay, you guys could do that in a timed writing, but I want you to do it well. I want you to do it well, okay? Any other questions? All right, what time is it? I forgot my watch.